the top, if you want to just kind of tell me your excitement to see your oldest son get a Division I head coaching job. How excited are you?
Well, Brandon, first and foremost, I just want to say that this is all about UW Green Bay. And also, it's all about an opportunity for a young man who has paid his dues in the coaching profession to go out and try to make the team up there as competitive as it can be year in, year out. So Kelly and I, my wife, we're just extremely proud, knowing that there's only 350 or 60 Division I head coaching jobs in the country, and the fact that he has one now, that's a pretty good feeling. We are extremely proud and happy for him.
What advice have you given him along the way? I know this was kind of unexpected for a coaching gig to open up in mid-May, and I imagine it all happened really fast for him. What role have you played for him in terms of giving him advice along the way?
Well, he had a chance to observe more than any words that I probably over the years passed on to him. He was very fortunate to have a good high school coach. In college, I had a chance to have him for a couple of years, and then in spite of what Bruce Pearl did to him in the year that he was at UWM. Now you have to make sure you get my chuckle in there.
I got you.
And then with Saul Phillips, it's Saul, just a great mentor, really a good teacher and coach. And then finally, when he went off on his own, he went to a school that was really struggling to stay open. It was Wheeling Jesuit. Now it's known as Wheeling University. They didn't have very many players back. So here he is, a first-year coach with not much to work with. And they were picked for last, and he ended up finishing fifth of a team of 12, or a league of 12. So that really opened some eyes up to some ADs and to some people in the administration of other schools. So that was a good experience for him, and so now he gets to do it again. And I think it was more about what he observed and what he absorbed from all the people that he was exposed to in his basketball journey, and now he gets to put all that to good use.
You mentioned, coming in a little bit late to Wheeling last year, and now he finds himself in, kind of a similar spot where, he's got roster spots to fill. He gets kind of a late start. We'll get a chance to talk to him later in the week, but just from your experience in coaching and watching him do that last year, what can he take from that experience last year in a similar spot and kind of bring to Green Bay? How can he use that experience to his advantage as he starts up here?
Well, the main thing is to stay positive and know that it's going to take small steps. He's not going to try to beat the world in 1 year or 2 years. It's going to take a little while. So he has a lot more patience. He's more like his mom than he is me. So his patience paid off last year. And I'm sure his patience will pay off now, and know that it's a process. So I think he's seen that enough when he was just a toddler when we went to Platteville, and he saw that it took some time to get that done. So he's been exposed to programs that maybe not calling it down, but maybe programs that didn't quite have the experience back or the right combination of players at the present time. But that's what he and his staff are going to have to do. They're going to have to put together guys that are going to play for the team and check their egos at the door and just build, just get better every day. And I think the one thing that I know he has said is that he appreciates being around coaches and in programs where he saw players get better as the years went on. So from the teaching end, he understands that it's a process and that teaching is going to be extremely important.
In terms of making, just kind of the change over this year, something a lot of people up here are talking about is just the change in tempo that Green Bay is going to see from under Link Darner, one of the more up-tempo squads in all of college basketball. And everyone thinks the Ryan family, they think the swing offense and, half-court offense and all that. What do you think some of the challenges he might run into in terms of changing that style, given the personnel that he has? And, just from your experience, how difficult can that be to accomplish?
Well, not to toot our horn, but very few people know this. At Platteville, we averaged 98 points a game in the early 90s, and in our Final Four run with the last two teams at Wisconsin, we led the country in offensive efficiency, and in the teams in the Final Four, we actually were scoring more points than the other team. So those labels that people put on are fine because that's, fans can say and do whatever they want. But you've got to play based on what you have. So he knows he's not going to try to be like somebody else. He's going to be Will Ryan, and he's going to do his thing. And the main thing is get good shots. It doesn't matter the total number of points that you have at the end. It still is always about efficiency. So on both ends, offensive and defensive efficiency. So he's been around. He's been around the program that led the Big Ten in fewest points given up, and he's also been around programs where scored very high numbers, 80s and 90s points a game. So it's all going to be based on what he's able to bring in there, and that'll determine what kind of numbers he's going to put up.
What can you tell us about Will personality-wise? As a person and as a coach, a lot of people listening know you well, obviously, from your time with the Badgers. They don't know Will that well yet. What can you tell us about, who he is, what he's like, and just the kind of personality that he brings here to Green Bay?
Well, he knows that his dad is known as a street smart guy. Kind of the way I grew up was different than the way Will has grown up. Will's been around a gym from 2 years, 3 years old, and where I come from, it was all blacktop and outdoor basketball and play for lunch money and a little bit of nasty that's developed in young people when they play on the playgrounds and play in those games and those those courts where if you lose you have to sit for 45 minutes. So he knows the competitive end that way, but he also, as I mentioned before, he has patience. He's more meticulous, I would say, about certain things. And he'll allow a guy on the court. What I watched last year, as I'm saying to my wife as we're watching on the computer, Will, you need to get that guy out of the game. So Will would leave the guy in there a little longer. And my theory was a guy comes out of the game, I'm just giving him a rest. And the players always knew I was putting them right back in. So what I saw in Will is that he's got a little more patience that way with his players.
Did you guys make it down to West Virginia at all to see any games last year? I know you just mentioned watching on the computer. Did you actually physically get to go down there and watch him coach?
No, all my golf tournaments got in the way. Out in California. We did not, but we were there early. We were there during the workouts. He found a hill that he ran the players on. And of course, I got some dirty looks from some of the players, and they were like, yeah, so you're the one that taught him about running hills. But no, they were good. They bought in right away. And he really didn't have the players that I knew he was going to get eventually. But after watching them, and Kelly and I came back, flew to California, and I said, "Boy, he's got a long way to go." And then they won, had a winning season, and I thought, "Wow, that's he definitely did some teaching during the year." So that's something that we were extremely proud of.
What about Green Bay? Can we expect to see at any games up here this next winter?
Well, we were both talking here about the fact that we gave away all our winter coats. So we're going to have to get some winter coats first, and then and then make some trips. Yeah, we will definitely do that. It's it's something that we've already started looking at the calendar and looking at some things that we can do.
So have you given them any grief about, hey, why'd you have to pick Green Bay as your first head coaching gig here? You couldn't have found anything in California, Arizona, any place like that?
Yeah, we were hoping. No, no. This is exactly what he needed because he knows so many of the coaches in the state and former players. I have a lot of guys that played for me decades ago who now have sons who are pretty good players. It's like the Gilmore kid going to Wisconsin.
Right.
His dad was a starter on our first national championship team at Platteville, and so he knows the state, and he just set a record by signing on at Green Bay. He's the first one to have coached, played, or worked at a state university. He was at Platteville, he was at Milwaukee, he was at Madison, and now he's at Green Bay. So Dick was at Stevens Point, Green Bay in Wisconsin. I was at Platteville, Milwaukee in Wisconsin. Will now has us all beat. He's at the fourth school.